Sherlock Holmes received a mysterious message that two men of great public distinction.
Morning, I at once informed the Prime Minister. It was at his suggestion that we both come to you.
Not at all. For all that is aimed at by those who have taken it is that it's content.
But I've taken it each evening from my office back to my house in Whitehall Terrace and kept it in my bedroom, locked in my dispatch box.
And you are sure that it was there last night?
Yes, I'm quite certain of that fact. I actually opened the dispatch box whilst I was dressing for dinner, and I saw 30 before we went to our room.
So, for 4 hours, the dispatch box had lain.
Departmental papers in my box.
Surely your wife knew?
Mr. Holmes, I've long known how high is Mr. Hope's sense of public duty. I'm convinced that in a case of this importance, it would rise superior to the most intimate domestic...
Besides the members of the Cabinet, there are 2, possibly 3 departmental officials who know of the letter. No one else in England, I assure you.
But abroad?
I believe that no one abroad has seen the letter except the man who wrote it. I am well convinced that his ministers, that the usual official channels have not been employed in this case.
It is addressed in large, bold handwriting.
Interesting and indeed essential as these details are, my inquiries must go more to the root of things. What was the letter?
It is a state secret of the utmost importance, which we cannot tell you, nor do I see that it is necessary. If by the powers which you are said to possess you can find such an envelope as I've described with its enclosure, then you will have deserved well of your country and earned any reward which it is within our power to bestow.
Continuation of this interview would be a waste of time.
I am not accustomed, sir, to this. Tell you, relying entirely upon your honor and that of your colleague, Dr. Watson, I must appeal.
You may safely trust us.
The letter, then, is from a certain foreign potentate who has been couched in so unfortunate a manner that his publication would undoubtedly lead to the most letter. This country would be involved in a great war. And it is this letter which may well mean the expenditure.
Have you informed the sender?
If that he already understands that he has acted in an indiscreet and hot-headed manner, it would be a far greater blow to him and his country than to us if this letter were to come out.
This is so. In whose interest is it that the letter should come out? Why should anyone desire to steal it and to publish it?
And there, Dr. Watson, you take me into the realms of... It is your misfortune, my dear fellow. No one can blame you. There's no... What course do you recommend?
You think that if this document is not recovered, there will be war? There seems no doubt this document was taken between 7:30 and 11:30 yesterday evening, so where can it be now? No one has any reason to retain it. It has been passed from hand to hand.
Out of our hands. Meanwhile, hope. We cannot ignore all our other duties on account of this one misfortune. And...
We have the British Treasury behind us.
Oh, if it's on the market, I'll buy it. If it means another penny on the income tax. Come in.
Excuse me, Mr. Holmes.
Mrs. Hudson, what is it? Lady Hilda Trelawney Hope. Show her in. Yes, he has been here.
Mr. Holmes, I implore you not to tell him. Gentlemen, I will speak frankly to you in the hope that it will induce you to speak frankly in return. There is complete confidence between my husband and myself in all matters except one. That one is... I know that a paper has disappeared, but because the matter is political, my husband refuses to take me into his complete confidence. Tell me exactly what has happened and what it may lead to. Tell me all. May come to you as a last resort. But without you telling me anything definite, in the first shock of the disaster, I understood that terrible public consequences might arise from the law. Think the worst of me because I desire to share my husband's anxieties. Even against his will, you will say nothing of my visit.
I say. What a really remarkable...
Her tenacity in asking questions. Remember, she is the youngest daughter of the Duke of Belminster and comes of a caste that does not lightly show emotion.
She was certainly much personality. Valet out for the evening.
They always are.
Elderly housekeeper sleeps atop of the house, heard nothing.
They never do.
Just before midnight, Police Constable Barrett saw door ajar, found Lucas's room in disorder. Lucas stabbed to the heart.
Let me see. Prussian military dagger. Robbery does not appear named as possible actors in this drama, and it means a violent end during the very hours we know that's to be connected. It is for us. And shall know nothing of Whitehall Terrace. Only we know of both events and can trace the relation. No, it would not. This is the case where the law is as dangerous to us as the criminals are. We must be patient and wait. Murder case.
They found the murderer. Or rather, murderess.
Indeed.
And later, made an emotional scene at Charing Cross Station. Now, what do you think of that?
Oh, my dear Watson, you are so long suffering. If I've told you nothing over these last few days, it's because there is nothing to tell. Even now, this report from Paris doesn't help us much. The Chief Commissioner would inform the Home Secretary, and he in turn the Prime Minister. No, it's not among Lucas's papers. But why is it held back? That is the question which beats in my brain like a hammer. The interests at stake are colossal. You know, should I bring this to a successful conclusion?
Of international politics than a remarkable linguist, so they say. I've been in charge of the case. That's all freakish. It has nothing to do with the main fact. Can't have on the face of it.
What is it then?
Well, if you gentlemen could... Liz. Now, the woman must have knocked on the door after she saw the valet had gone out. Surprised, they were swept over to the wall, and he had this one in his hand as if he'd been trying to hold her off with it.
Yes, restraint, thank you. Now tell me about this trifle.
Well, you know, in crimes of this sort, investigation complete. However, this carpet. As you can see, it's not been fastened down. So will you take that side of the carpet? Now we will move round in an anti-clockwise direction. What? I'll get him.
Don't do it before us. We tell him a full confession is his only chance of forgiveness. Do exactly as I tell you.
But George, if he knows, I'll have it out of him.
Holmes!
In here, Constable.
One came to the door answering an advertisement about typewriting. It was mistook the house, she said. Well, we got talking, sir, you know. Well, sir, we got talking about the crime. She had read about it in the paper, she said, and wanted to see what it was done. So I saw no harm in letting her have a wee keek. She got just about in the door there, spotted that mark on the carpet, and down she dropped on the floor and lay for dead.
And no wonder.
Go on, Macpherson.
Well, sir, I was away around at the Ivy plant for some brandy.
Macpherson, did you move the carpet?
Me? No doubt you thought your breach of duty would never be discovered. Yet a mere glance at that carpet was enough to convince me that someone had been admitted to this room. Lucky for you, my man, that nothing's missing. Otherwise, you'd find yourself in Queer Street. That'll do.
Watson, what are we doing here? We have work elsewhere, not a feather in your cap, Lestrade.
Good Lord, Mr. Holmes.
Hey!
Two gentlemen wish to speak to you, milady. They do not have an appointment.
Who are they, Bates?
Mr. Sherlock Holmes and a Dr. Watson, milady.
Very well. Yet you compromise me by coming here and so showing there are business relations between us.
Unfortunately, madam, I have no possible alternative. I've been commissioned to recover an immensely important document. I must ask you, therefore, to be kind enough to place it in my hands.
You insult me, Mr. Holmes.
Do not ring, Lady Hilda. If you work with me, I can arrange everything. If you work against me, I must expose you.
You're trying to frighten me. Mr. Holmes, I tell you, you're under some absurd illusion.
Oh, I am so sorry, Lady Hilda. I have done my best. But I see that I'm in vain. Is Miss...
Here it is. Wish to heaven I'd never seen it.
And the dispatch box?
With my husband. Wherever he goes, he takes it with him.
We have only a few minutes left. Now, Lady Hilda, I'm going far to screen you. In return, you will spend the time telling me frankly the real meaning of this extraordinary affair.
It was on the afternoon of that day, that terrible... He had obtained, in some way, a letter of mine, Mr. Holmes. An indiscreet letter, written before my marriage. Foolish letter.
The content very well. Very sprightly, I must say. Well, the matter is an easy one. Every evening, when your husband returns from his ministry, he brings with him his private dispatch box. Is that not so?
Yes.
When he comes home tonight, his box...
What to do?
Take your husband into your confidence.
I could not, Dr. Watson, I could not. It was only too clear to me. I did it, Mr. Holmes. I did it. I invented a story about going to the theatre. This morning, I realized I'd only exchanged one trouble for another. I followed my husband to Baker Street and then came to you myself in order to understand the full enormity of the offence. I alone in the world knew where the paper was hidden. My hope...
With us. May he share your hopes. He has nerves of steel, and yet I know that he's hardly slept since this terrible event. Mr. Holmes...
We cannot live on this volcano. We must have something definite.
It was taken.
Have you examined the box carefully since last Tuesday morning? You have other papers in the...
Yes, all my confidential papers.
It could have got mixed with that.
It was on the top.
The box could have been shaken.
I had everything conceivable. Impossible, Mr. Holmes. Hilda! How did you know it was here?
Because I knew it was no one else.
I cannot believe my eyes. Hilda, we have found the letter. I know it is difficult for you to understand, but it is the most wonderful news. It's quite extraordinary. I went through every paper in here. I checked and I rechecked.
Come, there's more in this than meets the eye.
Our Prime Minister, we too have our diplomatic secrets.